Welcome back, everybody. My name is Alfred. The game is Clockwork Empires, currently in revision Alpha 42. What you're seeing here is actually the second half of one big long play session, which I ended up talking too much, and it went on way too long, so I cut it in half. So this is the second half of one single contiguous episode. So episode 1 is up, and this will be the one that follows. Although really, they're all part of the same one. So I hope you enjoy watching this one. So the colony is underway. We still have a little bit of a food problem. I mean, they can eat this raw food, but they won't be happy about it. They'll be eating raw food will give them a bad memory. Pardon me. And too many bad memories will make them angry or will make them sad. Depressed colonists will tend to want to sleep more than they'll want to work, for instance, which will make them ineffective workers, and that will displease the colony. So, gotta get through new things. Okay, so there have been a bunch of bug fixes and always there are ongoing bug fixes and optimizations and weird, like aberrant code that isn't working the way it's supposed to. There was this weird bug where when you buried people in a graveyard, if you bury corpses there and then you save the game, when you load it again, all the corpses would be visible on the surface of the ground. That's been fixed. There's been a new building added to the building list. Actually, a couple of new buildings. Okay, we'll just ignore this alert for now. I will get back to that, however. So this is my carpentry workshop. I'm going to set it. I can select it. Okay, so I'm going to select one of these work crews and assign it. The work crew assigned to the carpentry is Mr. Pendle Hewer. And we can see, actually, of the two new immigrants that came in, one was assigned to Mr. Pendle Hewer and one was assigned to Mr. Bronzewright. And if we mouse over them, we can see what they're doing. If your colonist is doing the job associated with the crew's current assignment, their cameo will be gold, or it's probably bronze. And if they're not, they're just slacking off or sleeping or whatever, then they'll be this dull beige, idle. Anyway, so we've assigned Mr. Pendle Hewer's entire crew, which consists of himself and this one person, to the carpentry. And this new button appears. I can zoom on the workshop where they're assigned. Now, right now, the carpentry doesn't have anything assigned. Let's say finished planks made out of lumber are quite important. I'm going to say make 5 planks, then I click this button. I'd like to make that a standing order. So I would like this crew to maintain a stockpile, minimum levels of 5 planks in the stockpile at all time. I probably also need a bit more wood. I am waiting for more stone to come back, so these ovens can be complete. They both need 4 rough stone blocks. Got a couple here in the stockpile. Oops. Now we can see both these guys just grab this rock out of this single rough stone block, and that's because there are stacks. So individual units of whatever resources can be stacked. Right? This is actually a stack of 20 logs, and this is 3 coin, etc., etc. It used to be that stockpiles had to be enormous. Now they can be compact, and you know, your colony can look a little bit more tidy. So I've had a fish person sighting. This is one of the first of a series of branching choices. I can choose to be hostile, ignore them, and therefore leave the decision of how to deal with them up to the individual colonist, or I can try to be friendly with them. I'm going to be friendly because I don't have the military capacity to handle alien incursions, basically. They're not really aliens. They live at the bottom of the ocean. I've only got 1 soldier, and he has 1 pistol. So, you know, best not to make enemies yet. Okay, here we've got a man building the stone oven. So, there's been some optimization. The Fog of War works a little bit better now. It doesn't... the game doesn't get as choppy when you're scrolling around in the transition between unexplored and explored. There was a bug where sometimes, so if we look at the work crew menu here, or the jobs list here, you can see there are big jobs and they have daughter jobs. And there was a problem where these daughter jobs wouldn't clear out of the job list, even when their main job was complete, which caused all kinds of weird problems. So that's been fixed. There's a note here in the list that says colonists will abort hugging more accurately. I don't know if excessive hugging was a problem. Maybe. My colonists never hugged much. I don't know if it was because I don't know, life in the colony was just too grim. Yeah, so, okay, back to the new buildings. There are new buildings. One is the Barracks. So the way new military squads used to be obtained, you'd go to a colonist and there was a button, which would just say conscript to militia. That's no longer an option. First of all, if you conscripted a crew, just some random civilian crew, to become the militia, they would not get the spiffy red coat of the professional soldier. They would in fact get a brown version, because they're just the local militia. They're okay, they can use a gun, but it takes them longer to reload, and the morale's not as good, and overall they're better than nothing, but not quite as good as professional soldiers. However, again, that's no longer a possibility. The second way that it used to be possible to get more soldiers was to purchase them as favor rewards from the Empire. Again, you spend prestige points, and you spend, I believe it was 5 prestige points, and you get an entire squad of redcoats. So a redcoat NCO and a whole bunch of soldiers. That is still possible to get them that way, but only temporarily. So they'll stick around for 3 days. So if you're having a severe bandit problem, when your colonists are dying left and right, and you have the opportunity to call for a favor, you can temporarily call in professional soldiers. The way to get soldiers permanently now is to build a barracks. I'll just do this now. Now I'm going to make this a very small barracks, because at present the barracks does not contain any vital modules. I guess I'll put a bed in here. I made this a little too small. I'm not going to put a bed in here. So, I've made the barracks as small as possible because I don't actually need to fit anything in it. The size of the barracks doesn't matter yet. So, more functionality is planned for barracks, but not yet. It's not in the game yet. And basically, once the barracks is complete, you'll see it's nice red building. You will assign a crew to that building, the same way you would assign a crew to a kitchen or the carpentry, and they will become a militia crew. And so long as they're permanently assigned there, they will become the colony's militia. In that way, each militia squad, or each military crew in your colony requires its own barracks. So because you're going to be building multiple of them, again, that's another reason to build them small. What militia crews will do, over time they will train and get better, and they will eventually call in a favor. I've got 3 prestige. Let me get back to the barracks in a second. You know what? I could call in I'm going to call in the criminal work crew. So, see these guys in the stripy black and white pajamas and Elvira Orlick here? These guys are just temporary workers, a chain gang sent over from the Empire to help me do stuff. They will grab jobs off the job list just like anyone else. And just like anyone else, they will also eat food in my stockpile. So I'd better make sure I have food production up and running. So I've got at least 1 oven. I'm going to assign a crew here. What have I got? I've got 3 raw steak, which somebody killed an aurochs. I'm going to order up some cooked steak there. I've got some dodo. I've got the beginnings of lingonberry jam. Our preserves. Black cup fungus, and let's say maize. Now maize is a crop I'm actively growing, which means I'll have a steady stream of it, so I'm actually going to make this a standing order. Always try to maintain a level of 3 maize chowder in the stockpile. All the rest of them, These are, oh, look, I've got somebody killed a beetle at some point. Order up a beetle spade. Right, and somebody's just cooked up raw dodo into cooked bird. Yes, so barracks. Militia crews who are assigned to barracks, they'll begin as militia. And unless the individual colonies have military training, they won't be professional soldiers yet. They'll be not so well-trained militia. They will, however, one of the primary jobs of the militia is to train. So you'll see them doing push-ups and stuff. And once they've accumulated sufficient memories of training, they will become professional soldiers, which means their firing rate increases, or their reload rate, I should say, and their morale. They become better soldiers over time. Again, only so long as they are assigned to the barracks. They turn back into militia if you ever de-assign them from that workshop. Whew. Yeah, so those are the big things. I might not have covered the naturalist's office last time, or I might just not have built it. But naturalist will allow you to survey your natural environment specifically for mineral nodes, because that's what naturalists now do. They're not visible here, but you will occasionally see gold carrots, gold pointer arrows pointing at the ground, which is a mineral node. Something, if you mine there, it'll produce something, but you can't know what that something is until a naturalist surveys it, produces a report. Right here, here is a location for a potential mineralogy report. If I had a naturalist to come check this out for me, I would know specifically what it would produce. And I have a pretty good idea, because there are hematite nodes sticking out of the ground. Chances are if I build a mine here, it will produce hematite. However, surface nodes are not always visible, so they might just be pointing at like a grassy field. The barracks. So, just to show you how this works, I'm going to assign a crew. Let's say, well, okay, Mrs. Orlick is actually our prisoner overseer, and they're only here on a temporary basis, 3 days, so no point. Just let her help out with the colony. Mrs. Lumberly is assigned to the barracks, and you can see here, so she's taken on the uniform of a militia NCO. Let's see if we can't find her. There we go. Now the game is telling me she can't find any weapons, which is true. I have, in fact, my colony only has one pistol, and it's being used by the professional soldier. So I should, ideally, I should build some more weapons or obtain them somehow. So, Verdeline Lumberly is now one of my military crews, or the overseer of one of my military crews. And as I get more colonists and I assign them to her, they will also become military. So that's her barracks. Now the very first NCO you start with does not require a barracks. Bandits arrived. Okay. So the game is telling me bandits have set up a camp somewhere. I'm just going to say live and let live for now. They're not a problem yet. I can always choose to attack them if they decide to steal from my colony. Yeah, so new buildings. The naturalist office will allow you to create a naturalist. You'll assign him there the same way you would assign crews to a barracks to make them soldiers. You can assign crews to the naturalist office to create naturalists who are able to survey your environment and tell you what's what. So this is running a little bit long. That's some of the new stuff. Oh, I've got a new overseer. Oh yes. So I'm going to cut this one off shortly. I think I've covered most of the new stuff. There's more. I know I've missed it. That'll be episode 2. I just got the overseer immigration event. So overseers are no longer part of... Well, the arrival of overseers has been separated from the arrival of colonists. So much earlier on, shortly after the start of this colony, we had the event that said, yeah, just send me the usual number of colonists. And I had 2 laborers. That used to be the same interface as the one that gave us overseers, and the choice would be send us laborers or send us overseers. Those events, now the overseer is tied to the progress of the colony. the more productive your colony is. Basically, your colony's production progresses you on the track to pick up overseers. The more stuff you produce, the more rapidly you will accumulate overseers and also colonists. But they're independent, and that's because the overseer immigration event, you can choose to receive a work crew overseer or a military NCO. Wait, no, forget what I just said there. That's the way it was in 41E, I believe, or 41D. It used to be possible to obtain a military NCO through the overseer immigration, but that is no longer the case. You now must create barracks for them. Yeah, so again, that's been a bunch of new stuff for this revision. Fairly significant changes for strategy as regards farming. It's now, I think, it's easier to maintain food instead of creating one gigantic farm to create multiple small ones. But not even, overall, you'll want less land devoted to farming because of the incredible growth rate of the plants. And if they're too big, they'll spoil. Oh, some more immigrants. The usual number is 2. And I only got 1. I guess I got around 2 immigrants, which means I only got one laborer, and he's automatically assigned. Right, well, thanks for, bandits. Thanks very much for tuning in for this episode. The game is Clockwork Empires, currently in early access. My name is Alfred. Clockwork Empires is available on Steam and directly through Gaslamp Games, which will actually get you a Steam copy. Yeah, I hope the video has been informative for those of you who are wondering what the game's about or, want to see where it's at. Our NCO is taking some damage here. Yeah. So, the game's been in early access now for about a year, and it's now just entered into what the devs would consider alpha stage. I think it's in good shape, all things considered. Well, I'll be continuing this series with episode 3 probably in a day or 2. Until then, have a good one.